Live from WTOC, the Southeast News leader. The News Now starts on WTOC Plus.
We start with a major traffic alert in Savannah. Right now we're taking a live look at I-16 near exit 166 where a crash has closed lanes. In a social media post, Savannah police say the closure is due to an accident. Again, this is a live feed from GA 511. We do have crews on the way to the scene right now, but just giving you a look at some of what you're seeing on your screen. There are some SPD vehicles at that top along that bridge. We can obviously see some type of wreckage or debris on the bottom, potentially a vehicle. It is, frankly, a little hard to make out. And then what you can see at the top of your screen, all that metal right there is actually a sign. We just got sent a video from a viewer showing the front of that. But before we get to that, I did want to just zoom out really quick and show you where this specifically is affecting traffic here on GA 511 as I pull this up. This is the live camera. This is the crash. We were seeing red here earlier around the 37th Street connector because that's where traffic was being diverted. GA 511's no longer showing that other than kind of right here along 516. So potentially some of this has since cleared up. We still do see that incident report here. That means that there are still closures, and SPD has been asking folks to avoid the area. But again, this is something that came in just about 9:15, a little less than an hour ago into our newsroom. Again, I would avoid the area if possible. And once again, we do have video of this crash a viewer sent to us. Let me start playing some of this. It is muted just due to some language, but we were sent this just about 25 minutes ago. You can see that black smoke, and the cars will get closer, and you'll see some of this sign that appears to be damaged or down potentially. I can go ahead and fast forward through some of this video just to give you a better look, but right about here as they come up on that exit. Near the 37th and Abercorn exit on the left of the screen, all that black smoke you can see. And you can see right there that green sign over the freeway appears to be damaged, appears to be down in some capacity, and then just a bunch of fire right below it. So some type of wreck. Again, we do have crews actively on the way to the scene right now, taking a little bit of time, but you can just see right there it appears to be some type of vehicle, potentially a semi, just completely in flames. Because of that, we do expect major closures and delays in that area. Again, this is I-16 at exit 166, something that we will continue to track throughout the day. But again, I would avoid the area if you plan on being out in that general direction today. Well, we are going to continue with your top stories here on WTOC Plus. Moving now to a fire that we're tracking that happened last night around 12:50 a.m. Savannah fire crews were dispatched to the 1900 block of East Gwinnett Street. In a Facebook post, SFD says smoke and flames were visible upon arrival. They do say all occupants were out of this building. Their last update was just about around 1:30 a.m. when they said that the fire was fully put out. No injuries were reported. However, 2 residents and 2 dogs have been displaced. Turning now to the Crime Watch, in a major story we've been tracking since yesterday afternoon, Savannah police responded to the Abercorn Target parking lot around 4:30 yesterday after reports of a shooting in that store's parking lot. Alderman Curtis Purty took to Facebook to say that Savannah police reported the shooting, saying an argument broke out over a parking spot. Now, when police arrived, they found a man who had been shot, and that man did later die at the hospital from his injuries. Savannah police confirmed the suspect was arrested, but they have not released his name yet. Savannah Mayor Van Johnson also spoke about yesterday's parking lot shooting, saying in part, quote, "No disagreement over a parking space or anything else should ever end in the loss of life. This needless, unnecessary violence underscores the daily pain felt by families across our city and the urgency of our collective work to reduce gun violence and strengthen community safety." As we mentioned, the suspect's name has not been released yet. We have put in multiple requests to police and are waiting to get those details back. Moving now to the Low Country, one person is dead and two others are injured after a shooting in Hampton County yesterday morning. SLED tells WTOC they were requested by the Hampton County Sheriff's Office to investigate this incident. The two people injured in the shooting were taken to the hospital for treatment. No other details have been released, but we will continue to keep you updated as more information becomes available. In international news today, former Venezuela President Nicolas Maduro and his wife are expected to be arraigned in a New York courtroom on narco-terrorism-related charges. The two were captured during a U.S. military operation in Venezuela and transported to the United States over the weekend. CBS News' Bradley Blackburn has more from New York.
Video shows Venezuela's former president Nicolas Maduro being taken from a Brooklyn detention center to await his day in court. Soon, he and his wife, Celia Flores, are expected to make their first appearance in a Manhattan federal court on drug, weapons, and narco-terrorism charges.
There will be more security around him, obviously, but it will be fairly procedural.
On Saturday, the U.S. military carried out the operation that led to their capture in Venezuela's capital city of Caracas, igniting new uncertainty over the country's future.
We're in charge.
The president faced new questions Sunday over who's running Venezuela.
Venezuela right now is a dead country. We have to bring it back, and we're going to have big investments by the oil companies.
Venezuela's new interim president, former Vice President Delcy Rodriguez, issued a statement calling for peaceful coexistence. President Trump says she's cooperating, though in an interview with The Atlantic, he also warned, quote, if she doesn't do what's right, she is going to pay a very big price.
As the Trump administration and Justice Department lawyers prepare for court today, there's a different reaction on Capitol Hill, where some lawmakers are now slamming the Venezuela operation as illegal.
The Constitution is really pretty clear that the representatives of the people get to be consulted and ultimately approve military activity. That has not happened here.
Multiple sources familiar tell CBS News White House officials are expected to give a classified briefing to lawmakers later this afternoon. Bradley Blackburn, CBS News, New York.
Well, today is Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene's final day in office. She says she's stepping down to avoid a hurtful primary race for the District 14 seat. Greene announced back in November she would step down following a public falling out with President Donald Trump after she criticized his stance on files related to Jeffrey Epstein, along with foreign policy and health care. Trump said he would have backed one of her challengers when she made the announcement.
And I do not want my sweet district to have to endure a hurtful and hateful primary against me by the president that we all fought for, only to fight and win my election while Republicans will likely lose the midterms.
Greene has also vocalized major pushback against the administration's Venezuela operation, saying she wants to see domestic policy be the priority that helps Americans, not taking over Venezuela. Well, this is happening right now. 3 inmates who escaped from the DeKalb County Jail in Middle Georgia are expected in court in the state of Florida. Mary Kate Hamilton with our sister station has more.
That's right. That hearing was set to start in Florida at 9 o'clock this morning. The 3 face federal kidnapping charges and will be extradited back to Georgia for additional charges. The 3 escaped the DeKalb County Jail and then forced a rideshare driver to drive them to Florida, threatening to kill, sexually assault, and torture her. Yusuf minors Stevenson Charles and Naod Johannes escaped sometime on Sunday, December 21st. They were in the DeKalb County Jail on charges including murder, arson, sodomy, and aggravated assault. However, the exact details of their escape, including the precise timeline and how they were actually able to do it, have not been released. The DeKalb County Sheriff's Office says those details will not be released for fear of future security breaches.
We would not like to be more specific as not to give out the person's ideas of how to further compromise this building, but we're making some adjustments.
We are monitoring what happens in federal court today. In DeKalb County, Mary Kate Hamilton, Atlanta News First.
Moving now to health news, we're continuing to track the alarming increase in measles in the state of South Carolina. The state's Department of Public Health reports 9 new cases just in the past week. That brings the total number of cases in the upstate to 185. It's the first time in more than 30 years that the U.S. has passed more than 2,000 measles cases nationally. The Atlanta-based CDC says the last time the U.S. had as many cases was back in 1992.
We don't generally see waning immunity from measles vaccination. We know that no vaccination offers 100% protection, but the measles vaccine is one of the most effective vaccines that we have available.
As a reminder, measles is contagious for 8 days, 4 days before a rash shows up, and 4 days after. Doctors say you should also watch for a cough, fever, runny nose, and red eyes. And flu cases are also spiking across the country, especially for the youngest of patients right here in the state of Georgia. According to the CDC, Georgia's flu activity is in the very high category. Nationwide, the agency estimates at least 7.5 million illnesses, 81,000 hospitalizations, and 3,100 deaths for the flu so far this year. One pediatrician says the flu's subclass strains or mutations may lead to more cases, making vaccinations even more critical.
Because what may happen, even though it's a subclass, with the protection that you do have from the vaccine, it can decrease the severity. It can decrease the amount of days that you may be sick.
For those who choose not to vaccinate, make sure to wash your hands often and cover your mouth when you cough or sneeze. And finally, turning now to sports news, the Atlanta Falcons have parted ways with coach Raheem Morris and general manager Terry Fontenot. Now, a couple moves that really shouldn't necessarily come as a surprise after the Falcons' 8th straight losing season. They haven't made the playoffs since 2017. That's the second longest drought in the NFL. The Falcons announced last night that they're cleaning house. Morris leaves Atlanta with an overall record of 16-18 after just 2 seasons. 4 of those wins came in the last 4 weeks this season. Meanwhile, for the GM, he hasn't had a winning season since he took over the role in 2021. The Falcons say there is no timeline for when a new coach and GM will come in this offseason, but they will happen at the same time. All right, well, before we sign off here on WTOC Plus, we wanted to give you one more look at this crash on I-16 that's caused pretty major closures. We have noticed just in the last 15 minutes since the show started that some of the first responder vehicles have since moved, but you can still see that that rubble, that debris under the overpass, as well as that sign. It appears it may have moved a little bit. We saw in that video earlier that there was just that massive, essentially ball of fire underneath that sign getting onto the interstate. But it does appear that some of the first responder presence has since gone away. Obviously, it is still closed, and we expect this closure to last quite a while. However, we don't have a timetable for when that necessarily will be. But again, this is a live look right now. I-16 at Gwinnett Street, right next to exit 166. Traffic is still being diverted onto the 37th Street connector. Again, Savannah police are urging drivers to take an alternate route. And with that, we are going to wrap things up here for the news on WTOC Plus. We will be back in just about 45 minutes with another update with the traffic as well as some other stories. You can always follow the latest as well on our website at WTOC.com. Thanks for watching, and here's Local News Live.